Meantime, getting back into the classroom amid a pandemic is a complicated prospect in Montgomery County. As you've heard, it's up to individual districts to decide whether they'll reopen, go hybrid, or stay virtual. For example, in Lower Moreland, hybrid learning returned this morning. Many are deciding to stay fully virtual, including Cheltenham and Hatboro-Horsham school districts. And that move is leaving parents right in the middle. Some of them are demanding that schools reopen, while others feel safer with their kids at home. Well, joining us now is Dr. Nicole Lipkin, founder of the Young Leader Project and Hey Kiddo. Thanks for being here, Dr. Lipkin. We appreciate it.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So we've seen some of our local districts reopen, then be forced to shut back down, return to virtual learning, then try to reopen again. I'm just confused reporting on all of that, right? What about those it directly affects? With this constant change, how does it impact a child's routine, also their mental health?
Yeah, it can be really tough. I mean, just being the way the pandemic affects us, especially with regard to school arrangements, it's just not very predictable. And this can result in feelings of instability, leading to children acting out. So it should be expected. I think schools are really trying to do their best, just like parents are trying to do their best, and just like kids are trying to do the best. But it's important I think one of the most important things that we can do is clearly communicate expectations. And I think that's been some of the difficulty, as schools have had to respond immediately. And so these changes have had to happen all of a sudden, which is throwing everyone off guard.
You know, I know as a kid, I like to know what was expected. I didn't love surprises. Some kids can roll with it. Some, want a routine that stays the same. Any advice for parents, what they can do to help their children navigate these changes, which they can't control, and be ready for the unexpected?
There's a lot. I think, first of all, keep in mind that virtual classes are better than no classes at all from an academic perspective. So even the fact that this might not be ideal, it's good that this is happening. But I think there's some really important things to keep in mind. First of all, just like, for those of us working from home, having a dedicated workspace, having a dedicated school space is imperative to any extent possible. Even if it's a little corner of a kitchen table, whatever it might be, it's really important that children are able to go to a space and that's their school time, just like for us to go to work, and that's our place. I also think another thing that's really been missing with not doing school in person is routine. We take for granted the walk to the school bus, or the walk to school, or the walk in between periods to different classes. Those gave our children breaks with their brains, and it helped set a routine. So even though it's a little difficult, maybe coming from the bedroom to the kitchen table to do work, those routines are very important. And even if it's walking around the block, mimicking what you would do to get to school or whatever it might be, setting those routines throughout the day gives kids a little bit of a brain break. And one of the things we know, and as adults we're experiencing it, there's a lot of fatigue being on screen all day long. So these little breaks and routines make a huge difference. Another thing that really important is family hygiene. And what I mean by hygiene is sleep routines, getting a little bit more sleep. We're more exhausted, getting more time and breaks. Really, really important to integrate that throughout the week. The other thing parents can do is help children understand what the expectations are. Just like adults, like we need expectations in our work, in our lives, in our relationships, children do too, and the game is changing. So talking about what is expected, that it's still expected to do homework, to focus, to concentrate, and hold kids accountable to that. As adults, we want it, and children also want it, even though children might act like they don't want it. Having that structure and that accountability is important. And I think making connections with teachers who are exhausted and overworked, just like all of us right now, making connections when you're seeing an issue, reaching out and having the conversation and getting advice is important. And where possible, in a safe way, allowing children to have safe interaction with their peers, whether it be virtually or in very separated, socially distanced outdoors. These connections are so important.
All great advice, Dr. Lipkin. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.